This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
To get started, would you mind telling our viewers and our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Happy to. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts. I'm a behavioral science expert, and I help leaders and everyone adapt to the future of work and figure out how to make good decisions in the future of work. I've published 7 books. A bunch of them are bestsellers, and I hope my newest one will be as well. It's called The Psychology of AI Adoption at Work, From Resistance to Results. It's a peer-reviewed book published with Georgetown University Press, and it's out, so you can go and check it out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and anywhere fine books are sold, as people say.
The title of your new book may tell a little bit about what the contents is all about. Would you tell us a little bit about the book and why you decided to write it? This is your second book about AI, if I remember correctly.
You have a great memory, Doug. Yes. It's my previous book was ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators. It actually came out in the January 2023, if you can believe it. So I've been using AI before it was cool. And I think ChatGPT, the popular one, came out something like November 2022. And I was already writing the book. And that book was specifically guidance on how to use the technology. But since that time, a lot of things have shifted. And the real challenge in AI is not using the technology. Using technology is actually surprisingly easy. The big challenge with AI is the psychology, not the technology. And that is what my book is about. How to overcome the big psychological challenges that people experience in AI adoption. And there are specifically 3 big areas that leaders, supervisors, anyone who wants their team to adopt AI doesn't realize are huge obstacles that don't fit in to the typical change management narrative.
What are those 3 areas?
So when you think about change management, the typical approach to change management, the big issue is resistance to change. And meaning people don't want to change, they are lazy, they don't want to give up their ways, they think it's a hassle to learn new things. And that's what the typical change management approaches are built toward. And it's understandable, that's what they're used to. But that's not the problem with AI tools. The big 3 problems with AI tools are much more emotional than this hassle and desire to not learn any tool, which is a real thing. The big challenge with AI adoption, the 3 big challenges, let's go through them one by one. One is fear. People aren't afraid of using CRMs or databases or remote work technology or other stuff that that leaders have previously asked them to adopt. They're just hassled to use them, and that's a hassle to use them. With AI, there's real fear. So I've done over 100 consulting projects and helping companies adopt AI, and within those consulting projects, I conduct focus groups and surveys. And this is a basis of over 250 focus groups and many thousands of survey responses, which show that one of the big psychographic profiles that we are dealing with, and one of 8 that my book talks about, is what's called AI alarmists. AI alarmists are really worried about job loss. That's the primary fear. And lots of folks are worried about job loss. There's a real reason to be so. So far, AI job loss has mainly struck junior people who are recently out of college and who don't have good expertise in their field. And so that's been already some impact. But we're seeing very clearly that the future is going to be impacting people who are in various areas of their profession. So for example, there was a recent letter from 300 economists and including 16 Nobel laureates, which says that we're going to be facing major AI job displacement in the next several years. So these AI alarmists are one of the 3 big areas, one of the 3 big categories that you want to address. So let me tell you about the other 2 since you're asking. The other 2 areas. One is people who are what I call the psychographic profile of pragmatic resistors. So these pragmatic resistors, the big challenge for them is identity threat. What does that mean? Well, people are used to previous technology like CRM databases replacing things that they don't want to do. Like, who wants to go to an Excel spreadsheet and try to find somebody's name and correct it there? No, CRM is great for that. That's a great tool. But people like to write. People feel proud of their ability to write a really good email that conveys their points, or really good memo for executives, a really good report, really good blog article, create a really good image. So the AI tools that are replacing that, they're creating a real identity threat for people to their fundamental professional identities, what they feel really proud of. And so that's the second biggest challenge. The third big challenge here is shame. And this applies to a number of people who, in the psychographic profiles, I talk about skeptical observers, apathetic observers, and to the other two categories. These are people who are worried that their AI usage will be interpreted in a negative way. So let's say, oh, you wrote this email using AI, didn't you? Oh, you wrote this report using AI, didn't you? So they feel there's shame around social norms around it's bad to use AI to do things that real human beings should be doing. And so that shame is a big, big obstacle, especially for team AI usage. So in individual AI usage, people are productive. They are actually using AI extensively. We've seen that, plenty of people. But on the team level, they are ashamed of talking about it and admitting it and figuring out real workflows that would actually help teams be much, much more effective, because you have individual productivity, but the team workflows that are so important, they are not being improved that much at all. And there's a reason that we have what's called the MIT. There was a recent MIT study showing that something like 95% of AI pilot projects don't produce return on investment compared to the resources invested into doing the project, into actually adopting it. And so these three big emotions are the huge blockers that we see.
You have talked an awful lot about negatives related to AI and the challenges that managers and leaders have in overcoming them and directing their teams to reach their goals efficiently and with good team spirit. But from your consulting work and all of your research that you have done on AI, would you mind giving us some real examples about how AI has been positively adopted and how they did that, and a couple of examples where resistance seems to have run out, or won out, I should say?
So, not sure what you mean by one out, but let's talk about the positive examples. The way to get to the positive examples is to actually train people on tasks and activities that help them with their workflows and that they find annoying, and getting their buy-in and support for this. The way that I work with companies that I've seen that to address their resistance is, first of all, not just simply buying the tool and telling everybody to use it, which is a typical approach to AI adoption. That's kind of like, oh, here's the tool, go ahead and use it. And if a leader is extra smart and savvy, they give their team member, they reduce the workload of their team members and tell them that, they understand the resistance to change elements of things. And they tell them that you can do less work, like decrease your output by 10%, your expectations in order to learn AI tools. Great. That is what typically happens. And they're lucky if they're asked to limit their output by 10%. Instead, most people are expected to use the AI tools and learn to use them while still producing their previous output. Not great. That doesn't even address the resistance angle. But with even this resistance angle, if you address it, you don't address the underlying emotions that are leading to the resistance, that are beside the typical technological issues around hassle and time and efforts. And so the way to address those emotions is twofold. One is, well, for the job loss anxiety, what I tend to talk to leaders about is, hey, make a commitment to not fire anyone because of AI usage. We will if we find that you're so efficient, we'll just not hire people. We will not fire anyone who is using AI effectively. But to say that if you don't learn to use AI tools effectively, your job may be at threat. But if you learn to use AI tools effectively and you'll gain more efficiency, we'll definitely not let anyone go, we'll just not hire people. So that's one. That's the addressing the job loss. Then you want to address the identity threat and another element of this, like shame, by making sure that you focus on getting buy-in. And to get buy-in, you need to survey your people about what are their most annoying tasks. What are the things that they would like to get off their plate? What are the things that they think that they don't need to be doing? And so then you will get those answers. And then you need to develop someone with some AI expertise. So I usually develop this on behalf of companies, is developing a set of prompts and agents that help address these annoyances, these things that people don't want to be doing. So the things that people are not particularly proud of, some people like to use AI to draft their emails. I like to use AI to get initial email drafts. That's great. Other people may not, because I want to spend my time more efficiently. Other people may not, and that's fine. They do not need to do that. Maybe for them, the really valuable use of AI is creating images, and they don't like to create images, or analyzing reports, or doing research, plenty of things. So then in the survey that comes out, then you give people the opportunity to train them. So I go into a workshop and I train people on, hey, here is how you create effective prompts. And then they have this library of prompts, like 50 prompts for the whole company, that at least 30 of them will be applicable to each individual person. And some of them will be for specific workflows, like finance workflows, sales outreach workflows, HR workflows, all of these workflows, planned operations, like the technician workflows, and they will be relevant to them. And they will spend part of the workshop actually customizing the workflows to their needs, to their personal preferences. Because if you build it, then you will use it. And you'll also understand all the problems with it. You won't be using it in a way that's not effective. You'll understand, hey, I built this prompt. It's not going to be necessarily like 100% great. I will know that over time I'll need to improve it, and you know its strengths and weaknesses. And the same thing when you're building agents. So you build an agent yourself in that workshop, and then you know its strengths and weaknesses, and over time you can improve it. So that is the key, where you are addressing the job loss and you're getting buy-in and you're getting people to actually build the tools and be trained on the tools that are customized to their own workflows.
Do you find that business leaders are equipped to do this for their staffs?
Absolutely. So if they follow this, it's not that hard. The thing that they need to do, again, job security, addressing those AI alarmists. Then for the pragmatic resistors and other folks who are in the category, I talk about that in my book, The Psychology of AI Adoption at Work, from Resistance to Results, they need to take those people and make sure to do an in-depth survey, and then just work on building some of the custom prompts and custom agents for them. And that is the only area that requires some skill, and you can pick up those skills. There are courses on prompt engineering and agent building that you can pick up. But those are the three areas. The first that don't require any skills at all. The second can be picked up from courses. I talk about that also in my book, so you can check out my book on how to do so. Those are definitely doable tasks. There are probably some people at your company who are already using AI extensively, and they can help analyze a survey and build prompts and agents for other people at the team.
AI has certainly exploded, almost like a dynamite explosion, kaboom, and it went from what is AI to AI is everywhere. Would you take a look at your exclusive crystal ball and tell us, based on what you know about AI, where do you think it'll be in 5 or 10 years?
Oof, so it's hard to tell what will be in 10 years. In 5 years, I can be much more confident that we'll all be managers of agents. So right now, the agents are still making plenty of mistakes, and that's why it's so important for you as an individual to build your own agents. For example, one team I worked with for sales, for sales automation. So what they do is they created we work together to create an agent that researches prospects for their tools. And this is a B2B firm, so you don't have like individual customers. It's not B2C, they're selling to business. It researches a specific category of prospects and finds them online, finds their LinkedIn, finds their profile. Then it finds their email, and it customizes a pitch to them based on the research available online about that person, based on the products that the company is offering to them, and then talks about like, hey, something that essentially a sales agent would have done previously. Searched online, and create a prospect and customize an email. Then it gives that email to the human, and the human can decide at some point to not read it even and evaluate it and send it out. They can decide to automate the process to have the agent just send out the email. Then if a prospect responds, the agent creates an initial draft, which then the human absolutely reviews. So at first we had the humans, sales agents, until they're comfortable with it, review the initial prospect email. But once they were comfortable that the initial prospect email is great, they didn't need to do it. But in order to get them comfortable with it, they had to train that agent. Each individual person had to train the agent on their sales voice. So each individual person has a different style, an approach to selling, to that outreach. So they had to train them on that individual voice to have that outcome. And so this is the kind of thing that's definitely doable right now with a pretty sophisticated usage. In a year, that will be much more available on a mass level. But right now, you need to be pretty sophisticated to build that sort of agent. And so going forward, we'll have a lot more agents like this. Right now, the AI tool can use your email, it can use your calendar, it can use your SharePoint, and so on, combine these things. But it's not very sophisticated. It needs a very strict categorization, like look for this specific kind of prospect. Here's a template for how to build this pitch. Here's my voice that you can use to sound like me. And here's how you write drafts for them. In the future, you'll have a lot more tools that are a lot more flexible, and everyone will be a manager of agents. And you'll just be spending your time managing these agents, making sure that they're doing the right things. And your skills will not be in doing the research and outreach. Your skills will be in making sure that the agents that are sending out communication and doing all things, analysis, research, that they're functioning well and that you improve them over time. So that's, I think, what the next few years will be like.
Or it will all be like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, managing
That's
things
right.
like that.
Absolutely. We'll all be managers.
Would you tell our listeners and viewers a little where they can get more information, such as a website?
Sure. So they can check out the psychology of AI adoption from resistance to results in Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere fine books are sold, as people say. And they can check out a free book chapter and the introduction of the book at disasteravoidanceexperts.com/AI book. So again, my website, so my company is disasteravoidanceexperts.com. You can look up my name, Gleb Tsipursky, and my company will show up, disasteravoidanceexperts.com. And then to get the free book chapter and the introduction, just put a forward slash to after that URL and add AIBOOK, AI book.
Gleb, what would you like to add that we haven't had a chance to talk about that you would really like to get out for our listeners and viewers?
I think the crucial thing is, I'll circle back to the beginning of the conversation. The big challenge with AI is on the technology. The technology actually works great. If you actually are motivated to learn it, you can learn it and you can build great things. The big challenge is the psychology, human motivation. That is the big obstacle. So you need to address that human motivation. That's why when you see people using AI poorly, it's because they're not motivated to use it. They're using it because they're forced to use it, and so they have bad outcomes, and then they can go to their supervisor and say, it's not my fault, it's the AI's fault. You told me to do it. I see that all the time. It's it's such a frustration for managers. And so the reason they're not using it well is because they're not motivated to use it well. It's coming from a combination of that anxiety around job loss, identity threat, and shame. And that is blocking effective AI usage. That is the real block.
You've been listening to the Biznews Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.